So hi, this is Mary Carrick of Frontrunners Innovate magazine. And if you've been, kind of watching these videos along, that we are dropping in investor and advisor interviews with people who have some influence in those spaces, and to provide innovators with some good information about what they should and should not do. And also with those who are interested in investing, whether that be impact investing or, somebody who's looking for ROI on something, we want to try to give them a little bit of information as they look at the wonderful array of disruptors and game changers that we feature in the magazine. So today I am with Nicole Reynolds, and I'm so excited. Nicole and I met just a little while back, but her energy, her passion for what she's doing, the fact that she's very engaging with other women who are involved in investing and networking toward creating some of their own impact is just amazing. So Nicole, welcome. And thank you for joining us. So I wanted to get right to the heart of what brought you into She Fund, which is what you've developed. And probably you've done other things before that led up to that. So give us a little bit about your background, and then we'll kind of move forward with what you're doing.
Sure. I started my career more than 20 years ago on Wall Street as an investment banker. So I started life at Solomon Smith Barney at the bottom of the rung, working on investment banking deals, raising capital, doing mergers and acquisitions, and doing business development for the bank. Mm-hmm. Later, I went to a corporate role at GE, doing more or less the same thing, only doing it for GE's own account in the NBC business that they owned at the time. And from there, I've gone on to several more roles, either in advisory services or working inside a company, either launching a new initiative and getting it funded, getting it staffed, getting it scaled up, or working with entrepreneurs who have innovative new ideas that they're trying to get funded and trying to scale. So I've really been working at the crossroads of advisory services and finance for more than 20 years now.
Wow, that's amazing. What a great background for getting into what you're doing now. So tell us a little bit about She Fund and what made you decide to kind of go in that direction and develop that sort of a network of women investors.
Well, about 10 years ago, I started working in international development on projects funded by governments, by the World Bank, doing investment, working on entrepreneurship, and working in gender finance issues, trying to build the capacity of women to help them roll out their businesses and scale. And women have a really tough time attracting capital. It's really amazing. So their ideas are just as good as the men's. The research shows that the returns that they generate for investors are just as good, if not better, that they generate more revenue per dollar invested, but yet they don't get the same valuations, and they don't tend to get the same levels of capital in each deal that all male teams tend to get. So I thought, well, what is wrong with this picture? And it turns out that women just need a little bit more capacity building around what it means to scale a business and how to communicate a value proposition. And they're just not as expansive and as maybe flamboyant as their male counterparts. Sometimes they're a little more measured in their approach, but they tend to generate better results. So there's a mismatch between the amount of capital going to all male teams and the amount of capital going to diverse teams. And that needs to change. If we're going to solve the world's challenges and solve sustainability issues with new ideas, we need to be changing who we fund. And that's why She Fund was born, to help women attract capital and help diverse teams unlock capital to change the world with innovative solutions.
Yeah. We work a lot with disruptors and innovators across lots of different spaces. And originally the magazine and my work followed the SDGs, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So it's a lot of impact work. But in those years, I have to be honest, I kind of concur with what your assessment is about the male-dominated sort of spaces out there. I do have several female owners and founders, and very successful, but I think you're right. It's that they take a different approach to things. And I don't think there's a lack of confidence out there so much as maybe the people who have the money that are investing are maybe more typically male than they are female. And
That's
but what I
exactly
really
it.
like
Yeah.
is once you see a founder that's doing really well, they tend to want to give back. And so
Yeah.
whatever it is that they're doing, their corporation, their company, whatever they founded, has some kind of a give back component. And so maybe they're reinvesting in somebody else down the road, sort of pay
Yeah.
it forward type of thing. So do you find that to be the case in some of the ones that you know that you talk to?
Yeah, certainly the ones who've had a hard path or who've made it against all odds tend to
Mm-hmm.
be the ones that want to really increase diversity
Nurture.
in both
Yeah.
entrepreneurship and investing.
Yeah.
And they tend to want to raise this issue because they know how hard it was for them. They want to be
Yeah.
easy for the people who come after them.
Yeah.
But just, I'd like to circle back just a little bit to your point about the people giving the money. This
Mm-hmm.
is exactly it, that the majority of the
Yeah.
people giving the money are white men. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why most of the people who get the money are also white men. And I
Yeah.
think the bias is largely unconscious. I don't believe that there's a concerted effort to exclude people. It's
Mm-hmm.
just that these are the networks that they've formed over a lifetime. These
Yeah.
are the people they know. These are the people that come from the same background and the same
Yeah.
school and the same communities. And they just tend to agree with and support people who look like them. And that's
Mm-hmm.
why we need an organization like She Fund to help raise the visibility of the really
Mm-hmm.
amazing female founders who are doing really
Yeah.
great things.
Agreed. And I think, as you were talking, it made me think about something else because I have a lot of STEM folks in my network. And, there's a lot of females, women, leaders out there that are promoting STEM now, maybe way more than used to be, say, 4 or 5 years ago. And I think because innovation a lot of the times is wrapped around technology, I think probably it's more of a male dominated field still from a
Yeah.
leadership standpoint and a founder standpoint than it probably would be female. And so I think that may also contribute. But I think in the years to come, you're doing She Fund at the exact right time, right?
I think so.
Get ahead of it. Yeah, you're ahead of the curve there. While women are really kind of coming up into those spaces and really taking leadership and founding some interesting, companies that are doing problem solving in a big way. So I really think that wrapping, She Fund around that as well is a really good thing. But the
Yeah.
timing is just perfect. So now tell us the structure of She Fund just a little bit and how
Sure.
somebody might want to be involved.
Sure. She Fund is primarily a community to help women find support
Mm-hmm.
around the ideas they're creating and find support around scaling and putting one foot in front of the other every
Mm-hmm.
single day. As you know, building a business
Yeah.
is a large part of it, of succeeding, is the mindset.
Yeah.
People can give you lots of information, and that's helpful. Sometimes that's what you need, and Facebook is good for that. Google's good for that. But when it comes to finding a community of people who are your greatest fans and are going to lift you up on the days when things are really tough, you only find that in a real community. And that's like the core of She Fund. Everything else, the resources, the connections, eventually a funding vehicle, and the education, the groups, the courses, it's all wrapped around a core of community.
That's great. I think it'd be very, very useful for a lot of founders and startups because I think that that's important, is to try to, like you say, lift up those people who are just getting going, because it is on a best day, it's challenging, and especially during pandemic and all the other crazy things going on in this world. If you don't sort of pivot in the right direction, you're gonna miss the boat. So I think that getting all the help you can is good. So I wanted to ask you, sort of as we tie up some loose ends, any tips you might give women who are looking to give back in an impactful way in investment, and then any tips you might give also to those innovators out there who are looking for, say, female funders.
Sure.
Leave it with you to answer.
I would say to anyone who's been really successful in their career and anyone who's maybe been lucky with a startup that they founded and they've managed to exit, they've got some capital, get involved in your local angel network. That's a really good place to start, because So many businesses, and I talk to women all day long about this, really aren't looking for figures, funding in the 7 figures or 8 figures. They're looking for $20,000, $50,000, $100,000, you know, seed capital and pre-seed capital. So a really good place to start is to build out those networks and those organizations that are giving money in these small checks, because a lot of businesses don't get started just because they can't find $20,000, but yet they've got the drive and they've got the idea and they may even have the connections. They just don't actually have seed capital. And so when it comes to finding other female funders, I think you know, there are networks to join. There are conferences to join. There are organizations like Beyond the Billion, which was founded by Shelley Porges, whom you may know. She set out to drive $1 billion of capital into venture capital for women, and she got a whole bunch of LPs, limited partners, to put money into vehicles earmarked just for women. And so, if you have that kind of connection and the ability to do something like that, do it.
I love that. I do have in my network, actually, she's on my advisory board, Wendy Steele, who started Impact 100, which was with the idea of putting lots of women putting in a little micro investment, which almost any woman could do, and coming together and determining what you could do for your whole community. So it was, you know, they identified a project, whether that be a park or work on a road here or something there, or just, you know, some kind of economic development project that would make a difference in that community. And so once they massed however much they, you know, felt like they could amass, then they would, you know, they would give that to that project. And wow, in a short period of time, once that got caught on when she first started that, it went all over the United States. It's now global. And so they're really impacting these communities one by one. But, you know, it goes to show you, you don't have to have millions of dollars to be an investor and to
really
make a
don't.
difference. And like you say, for a lot of these folks that only need $20,000 or $30,000 or $10,000 or something just to get themselves rolling, it really would make a difference to them. And that would be the seed fund. And then if they did really well, you might want to invest again.
Right. You know, join a syndicate of, you know, several people bringing in $20,000 or $30,000. And before you know it, you've got, you know, the $1 million round that someone's looking for, or the $500,000 round. I mean, it doesn't have to be an organized VC from Sand Hill and, you know, Silicon Valley. It really can be much smaller, more accessible vehicles.
Well, and I like that idea. Like I say, it gets your foot in the door on something that could be really great that you could reinvest in down the road and get that ROI going really good. So when they need that $5 million or $10 million
exactly.
to go out there. This is great. This is great information. I appreciate it, Nicole. And we're going to drop in SheFund's website, but if you want to say it while we're on the recording.
Sure. It's shefund.io. So shefund.io. So it's .io because the .com was taken. And so,
I like IO. It's like I owe money or something.
Yeah, you know that.
Yeah, that's easy to remember. Okay, so we're going to drop that into this YouTube, also embedded in the magazine, and you know, hook up with Nicole on LinkedIn if you have an interest in talking further with her. So I really think that she would be able to give some more input if you have interest in bringing you on as a speaker, because she's really good. So thank you, Nicole. I really appreciate it.
And thank you for having me on. I really, really appreciate the opportunity.
No problem. Thanks for all you do.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.